And here comes Milwaukee. Forbes another three. Oh, no! This is the Random Scrub Heat Podcast.
That intro has never been more suitable for an episode than this one tonight. I am your host, LJ Cascon. This is the Random Scrub Heat Podcast. I do have Hot Take Harrison with me. I do have the Thunder from Down Under rightfully below me as well. George, we are here. Speaking about the setup, if you see it on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. That intro has never been more accurate because that if you guys don't know, if you've never seen the actual intro, you only hear it on the podcast. That's Bryn Forbes shooting during the series, the second series against Milwaukee, when he outscored Jimmy Butler. But that's not exactly what's happening this time around, is it? Jimmy Butler, ladies and gentlemen, that's all. Honestly, Harry, you could end the show right here because all I have to say is Jimmy Butler. What more needs to be said about this guy who drops a Miami Heat franchise record, career high, playoff game, regular season game, does not matter. Jimmy Butler, 56 points. 56 points in a 5-point win to take a commanding 3-1 series lead against the Bucks. Before we get into any of the semantics, any of the stats, give other players their flowers, because other players did play significantly well down the stretch in the fourth quarter that ignited that fourth quarter run for Miami. Before we get to any of that, I need to put my hand up and just say I apologize to all of our listeners. I was wrong. I was blatantly dead ass wrong. I came on here on the podcast and on the post-game streams after the Atlanta game, after the Chicago game, and I said, who fucking cares? Go out. I don't care what happened. I wasn't actively rooting for them to lose, but had they lost, I would not have been upset. Never again will I make that mistake to deprive Jimmy Butler of an opportunity, because this is what happens when you at least get your foot in the door. You go off and you go up 3-1 against the best team. What I thought, again, goes to show you how much ball I actually know, what I thought was the best team in basketball. George said, I would rather play the Milwaukee Bucks than the Boston Celtics. George said that the loss to Atlanta wasn't a big deal because it set him up for a better matchup in the first round. I called George a fucking idiot. Look who's laughing now. I'm the idiot. George is actually very, very smart. George, go take your victory lap. Go on, you can talk.
I've had two amazing takes this season. One, that Jamal Bouye is also the greatest undrafted player that we just don't have on the roster right now, but he will be back.
Don't push your victory lap.
And that the Heat would have a better chance against the Milwaukee Bucks than the Boston Celtics. I had a feeling, and I was right. That's look, I'm not going to gloat. Fuck you, LJ. But
That's very fair.
I'm a genius, and you all should respect it. Nah, look, at the end of the day, we all thought that this could have been a very ugly series for the Heat, and I expected it to be so. I didn't expect what's happening before my very eyes right now, but I know for a fact that the Heat match up way better against this team than the Celtics. Celtics are just too deep. They're too offensively well put together. Defensively, they lapse. Playmaking, they lapse a little bit as well, but they've got amazing guard rotation. That's something that the Bucks lack massively is good guard rotation. Drew Holiday is a phenomenal player. Grayson Allen is not. I don't care. I get it. He's a good defender, and I respect his defensive capabilities, but at the same time, after Drew Holiday, it falls down a cliff because you got to call the names of Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, Javon Carter, these types of players. Goran Dragic is their best guard off the bench that doesn't get playing time. But the Heat have this sort of ability. If you can limit the offensive production of Giannis, then you put yourself in an amazing position to win. And even tonight, where he still put up 26 on 55%, had 13 assists, played at an amazing level. And we didn't really we couldn't defend their big men for shit, and we still won the game on the back of Jimmy Butler. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. He's the man, the myth, the legend. It's him. He is him. Jimmy Butler is him. I've sat here many times, and I've seen amazing performances from people in Heat uniforms before, from the likes of of Dwayne Wade, from the likes of LeBron James, from the likes of now Jimmy Butler. And it's one of those special times where we're going to remember this for a very long time and be progressively happier for these times. When I think about my Heat fandom, I think about 2006. I think about, and more specifically, like the special times. The Mike Miller no shoe three, the Ray Allen three from the corner off the offensive rebound from Chris Bosh. Dion Waiters doing what Dion Waiters does. These are special moments, and Jimmy Butler created another one.
And he seems to do it every single time he steps foot in the postseason. He tonight alone, we already talked about the numbers though. Just from like a singularity standpoint, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. That was the greatest singular playoff performance I've ever seen in my entire life. I was born in '96. I didn't see prime Jordan, but that right there, 50. Like, I know Wade had significant games in the finals. We all know that LeBron did what LeBron did in those 4 years here. All of that doesn't need to be touched on. We know that. But what Jimmy did with his highest other leading scorer on his team, scored 15 points. Bam waking up in the second half. We'll get to Bam too. Jimmy, no other person on the team had 16 points. Your second highest leading scorer in the season had 5 below his average. And Jimmy goes on, backpack Jimbo, 56 points, and just absolutely incredible. It cannot be understated that this guy has given us now. When you talk about Mount Rushmore of Miami Heat performances, you think of the entirety of the 4-game stretch with Wade against Dallas. You think of the LeBron, when they're down 10 against San Antonio in Game 6, him going off. And then, Ray Allen hitting the 3, and then the rest is history. Jimmy Butler now, sure, bubble finals, whatever, fuck you. Then he does it again last season in Boston. Then we're forgetting, the LeBron performance in Boston too. Jimmy Butler arguably does the same exact thing that LeBron did, albeit the series outcome was different. Then you have this season, him doing it 3 games to Milwaukee out of 4. And in that one outlier when they all got smacked, Jimmy was still the only player that really showed up. So Jimmy has been absolutely – there are no words to describe what we witnessed tonight, what we've witnessed during his 4-year Heat tenure. The man is absolutely incredible. Harry, we haven't heard from you yet. How do you feel in what is probably the lone absolutely amount of euphoria that we've gotten in this entirety of this season so far? Because there's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of downs. How do you feel after what you watched tonight?
Yeah, so I think I was just listing this on Twitter. So I think objectively, Jimmy has 3 of the top 5 best Heat playoff performances of all time now. I listed it as Wade's Game 3 in 2006, LeBron Game 6 in the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Game 6 last year in Boston was pretty epic. His Game 5 in the 2020 Finals where he's hunched over. It's the meme where he's hunched over the barricade, he's exhausted. And then tonight, and I think it's 2 things, right? They have to win. They have to close this out. They got to win one more game because the problem is these things get forgotten. If they end up blowing a 3-1 lead, and also it's time and place. It's tough because as you get further in the playoffs, the stakes are higher. So obviously doing this in the first round is going to be a bit lower compared to the other games, in my opinion. But from just a performance where Jimmy goes out there and he's just saying guys, we're not losing tonight. I don't care if you're not going to step up to the plate or if you're not I'm not losing. So, we call him Backpack Jimmy, follow me. We're going to do this. And I just think it's kind of wild because he's been the guy that he doesn't take the postseason seriously. I've never seen someone turn it on regular season to playoffs like Jimmy does since Shaq. But even Shaq wouldn't give you not older Shaq. Prime Shaq could do this, but Jimmy just deciding that he's just not going to lose is unbelievable. It's the shot that he takes. It's the defense. It's pumping up the crowd. It's having faith in his teammates. I was talking to George about this before you got on here, LJ. Caleb Martin played fucking amazing down the stretch. And, Jimmy kicking out to him for some key shots without even thinking about it. So it's not just, Jimmy's and hold on. I had so many stats lined up for this. This is a wild game. 56 points by Jimmy is tied for the fourth most in the playoffs in NBA history. Through the first 4 games of a postseason, Jimmy now has 146 points. That's second most all time behind Wilt Chamberlain's 158.
That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
Okay. Also,
say it one more time.
Okay,
Say that one more time.
So most points through the first 4 games of a postseason. Jimmy is second all time behind Wilt Chamberlain's 158. Jimmy has 146 through 4 games. So just like a dominant performance to start the postseason. Also, these stats are by Simon Sperling on Twitter. Additionally, prior to the Game 4 win tonight, Heat playoff history, only one player had ever had 20-plus points in a quarter. Wade had done that 3 times in the postseason. Jimmy did that twice tonight, in the first quarter and the fourth quarter. Also, I want to give a shout-out quickly to my guy, Jeremy Taché, who we had on the pod a few weeks ago.
Friend of the program, Jeremy Taché.
Friend of the pod, friend of the program. He was on Levitard's show this morning, and he kind of ended his soliloquy kind of saying, like, Jimmy's the best player in the series regardless of whether Giannis plays or not. And the clip is good because Dan cuts him off because Dan kind of realizes what he's saying. He's like, what? And that's where the clip cuts off. But Jeremy's right. Like, Jimmy's the best player in this series. I'm going to argue, and I've been saying it for a while, he's the best postseason player around right now. There's just no one out there that can do what he does on a nightly basis. And we just really have to admire him and just kind of enjoy the ride. I know we've had different takes on the podcast. LJ, I appreciate you apologizing. I probably owe an apology too. Like, we were on that pod with Hoop Spaces, and we were like, we don't want to play the Bucks, and he also had kind of agreed that was a better matchup for us. But I mean, we don't mind being wrong. We're happy to watch this team win, especially these Jimmy Butler masterclasses. And I don't know. I mean, obviously we need one more. We really want to close out the series and move on. And it's kind of looking like if we did, it would be the Knicks. But this would be one of the biggest wins ever. 8 seeds don't usually beat 1 seeds. It hasn't happened very often since the NBA expanded from 5 games to 7-game series.
I might be forgetting one. I think the last time it happened was the Grizzlies over the Spurs in 2011. I think that was the last time it happened. It might have happened one other time that I'm just not remembering, but that's the most recent one I can recall.
Yeah, because the Golden State, the Baron Davis teams was before that, right?
They were the team before then. So It's like it doesn't happen often. And sure, you could say, like, you could make the argument that, like, well, the Heat aren't really an 8 seed, and you'd outside of Jimmy and Bam, they're probably not a play-in team outside of Jimmy and Bam.
I mean, the truth is that you can really go down the list, and the Bucks, like 2 through 15 guys on the roster, are all better than. I mean, at least they're playing better than the Heat guys 2 through 15. But Jimmy really is the difference. He's been that guy. People like to talk about Jimmy pre-Heat or, unfortunately, the series they had in 2021. And honestly, like, who the hell cares anymore? Pre-Heat stuff doesn't matter. And 2021 they just really were did not get a lot of rest from the bubble season prior. They had 2 months off. They never really recovered from that. And it happened. But this is, Jimmy in a series, if he can kind of do his thing. And we're not, we don't need 56 points a night, but if Jimmy's giving you 30 a night and he's shooting 70% true shooting percentage, like the way he can get free throws and get to the basket and hit the shots. Also, guys, we're not even talking about the refs absolutely did not want us to win the game tonight. Like,
I was waiting on it. I was going to bring that up. Giannis had probably 40 fouls. He should have fouled out. This isn't a joke. Like, I know we joke. I don't mean this as a joke. Giannis legitimately should have fouled out in the first half.
That was crazy. They correctly called his third foul. They challenged the foul.
I think Harry lost out there, but no, as he's saying on Haywood Highsmith, who running in, got body checked by Giannis and they called it a foul. You can see it in the replay. He gets body checked, and then they say no. They went back and reviewed it. I haven't seen something like that in a while, where you get the call right, then you go back, review it, and you see that you were right, but then you overturn it because he got all ball, as if literally his whole body hitting Haywood's body doesn't matter. I don't know. That they took that foul away. Giannis literally were bullying people over. Don't even count the 15 travels he had that went uncalled too, that resulted in and ones. Like it was very, very frustrating to watch, because it's like, he is such an incredible player, and you don't have the bodies to necessarily defend him consistently. So for him to also have the refs in his back pocket too, I mean, that's what happens to when you are legitimately probably the best player in the NBA. In the grand scheme of things, he's probably the most talented player in the NBA, just from a physical standpoint as well. You're going to get the whistle. LeBron got it when he was here. I'm sure that was extremely irritating for everyone that played us. I get that. But it's like, when you're on the other side of the coin, it's a pain in the ass, because it's like, dude, the dude's, he can get from the 3-point line to the basket with 2 steps, yet he's taken 3 or 4 and they don't call it. And it's just, it's extremely
the way he switches his feet on the low block in itself is a travel every time. It's reminiscent of Israel Adesanya and Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, where he will be on the low block.
Holy shit.
Under the basket, then will shift his stance the exact opposite thing, and it's not called a travel every time. It makes me question how they're officiating certain people. Like, it's become a real agenda and a real conversation over the last week with the whole Dylan Brooks situation, the Draymond Green situation, who gets the calls, who doesn't get the calls. I'm not taking anything away from Giannis as a player. Giannis is the most dominant player I have seen since LeBron James of the finals of the Cavs. And before that, Shaq and Kobe type of stuff. Like, in terms of dominance, he is Shaquille O'Neal-esque. But oh my God, can you please stop fucking traveling so obviously
and pushing off?
And look, the push-offs, I understand. The push-offs I can see. And I don't think they're as unjust as people think. It's like, you're allowed to use your body. It's a contact sport. You're allowed to be able to allowed to be physical. The ones that are blatantly like, you've used your elbow and you've pushed him out of the way, those are more, those are the ones I get pretty upset about. But for the most part of it, that hasn't been an issue for this series. It's more the fact that he likes to run in the paint, stop, look at the basket, switch his feet, and then launch. You can't do that. That's 4 steps. That's not fair. You shouldn't be able to do that, but he does. And look, officiating, I never sat there and go, oh, it's that bad. Eric Spoelstra thinks differently in his post-game press conference. You hear him directly reference it a couple of times, saying that he doesn't believe that the officiating has been as good as it is, as fair as it has. I'd say the same for the Heat as well. In that last 5 minutes, I saw a couple things.
And Bam carrying on nearly every dribble.
The Bam carry. I saw Caleb Martin push off. I saw travels from Kyle Lowry. I saw a lot of stuff that was 50-50. The one that got me the most was the Chris Middleton foul, Jimmy Butler under the basket, when Chris Middleton wasn't even looking at him. That wasn't a foul, in my opinion. It was just a really bad Jimmy layup, but they called it. And I'm like, look, you're going to get bad calls. You're going to get good calls. Anyone who thinks that the foul on Giannis was anything other than the most, it's his fault. He ran into Caleb Martin, flipped his body, he dropped. It's not anything dirty from Caleb Martin. I've seen that narrative more and more now, and I hate it because it's just not dirty at all. But we should just focus on the greatness that is Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo.
Speaking of Bam Adebayo, I'm glad you went to him, because he's the next person I want to talk about. And Harry, I want to hear from you too. What did you see from Bam in that second half? Mainly, he turned it up on defense in the second quarter. He turned it up, or third quarter, I'm sorry, but turned it up on offense as well in the fourth quarter, and really helped them stay in striking distance, because the Bucks kept going up 10, then 12, then 14. And Bam he'd hit those midi jumpers, finally getting those to fall that would bring it back to 10, bring it back to 8. And it was just keeping Miami in striking distance for Jimmy to either come back into the game or just absolutely get the ball in his hands and do what he needed to do.
Yeah, I think, the Twitter is getting kind of mad at Bam during the game. I just think he really gets in his head a lot. Listen, your shot's not always going to fall. It's not a big deal. I don't even think people are out there being like, you have to hit all your shots. People just don't want him to look dejected or to stop shooting because the jumper's there and teams are going to keep giving it to him if you're going to pass it up, right? There's no reason for other teams to extend the defense out to where Bam is if he's not going to take that shot. So, in the fourth quarter, he ended up hitting one of those buckets. I think, that was the start of the big run by Miami. I think it was like a 14-0 run that took the lead. So he hit that bucket. The defense was better. He's engaged. He's one of the only guys in the NBA that can probably guard Giannis one-on-one. There's just not a lot of guys that can take the physical beating of trying to stick with and take the hits from a guy like Giannis, who's as big and as strong as he is. So they're going to need him. It doesn't really matter if he's going to have a great offensive game or not. They need his defense. So for me, it's simple, right? Be the engaged defensive. Man, he should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. I'm still so friggin' mad about that. Be the guy that we know you can be, and then on offense, set some hard screens, roll the basket, take the open shots, and just give what the defense is giving you because they are giving you a decent amount. They don't respect your game, so take some offense to that and be the aggressive guy we know you can be. It's going to be unfortunately, it's just going to be the talk with Bam because he's our second best player. He's our second highest. Is he the second? He's the second or third highest paid player, and it's going to be there until he's consistently stepping up. But for now, we need him to be out there. We need him to play great. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I thought it was a much better second half from him, and that's to me that's good because you can build on that. Right? He could say, I didn't have it in the first half, but I played a lot better in the second half, and hopefully he can bring that into what's going to end up being a very, very tough Game 5 in Milwaukee, and just keep him engaged. There's rumors about maybe his hip is bothering him or something. I don't know, man. To me, the excuses don't matter now. Like, everybody's dinged up, everybody's hurt. I was actually going to say before when George was talking, like, it's going to bother me if the Heat win and they point to Giannis missing 2 games because, like, that dude charged into the paint. Kevin Love took a good legal charge. Giannis flipped his body around, landed on his tailbone. And then, listen, I'm not questioning his toughness, but I really think he missed 2 games because he thought his team would pick up those games, right?
Had Milwaukee won Game 3 in Miami, he doesn't play tonight either. Had Milwaukee has the 2-1 lead, he doesn't play tonight.
That's what he kind of is playing because they're down 2-1 and they're desperate and he can't, he doesn't want to go back if they lose and say, I didn't give my team a chance to win it all. But obviously the Heat are playing better. Giannis not 100%. We'll take it. You need some lucky breaks to win as an 8 seed and to move on in the playoffs. And I just think like you just have to embrace that the Heat are doing enough to be at 3-1. They need one more win. I would say they probably got to win one of the next 2. I don't really want a Game 7 in Milwaukee. So, do the best you can in Game 5, and if not, let's close it out in 6 at home. The fans have been amazing. I know Heat fans get all this crap nationally from everybody else leaving early, even though all fans leave early and arriving late. Man, if you've ever tried to get to a Heat game, it is not easy to get down there. It's not fun to get down there. Who the hell cares? If the fans are cheering as loud as they can, you can hear it. Even I think the TNT guys are really good about like making a call and then letting the crowd kind of erupt in the background. So they did that when Jimmy hit the shot to go up 112, 109, and you just hear how loud it is in the arena. And if you've ever been in there before during a big game, I mean, you really can't even you can't hear yourself think, can't really feel a lot going on. So, credit to the fans for showing up, for doing that. Credit for this team for battling. Being down 11 in the fourth quarter isn't easy. I missed another stat. This is the most points a player has scored in a game while trailing by 15 in the postseason since Michael Jordan put it in us way back when against the Heat. So, just kind of, I think this is really a night to celebrate. There's other things we can critique. We can talk about different things going on. We can have a discussion in the offseason about what the Heat need to do to really build this team around Jimmy and make it great. But this was just an amazing night. I think we kind of deserve it. I think we've all talked about how it's kind of been a trying year for us to cover these games. It hasn't been that fun. The offense wasn't always great to look at, but props to Jimmy, obviously. Props to Bam on the second half. And I don't know if you want to go into like we talked a little about Caleb. And listen, I'll say this. It's not a joke. Props to Duncan Robinson.
I was going to toss it to you about him because that dude, fuck it, we'll do it now. Duncan has been instrumental in this series. What?
Listen, they started him in game 2. It didn't go very well. We got blown out. The Bucks will never shoot that well again. It was just an insanely, give them props, just an insane shooting night from them, and they never looked back. But Duncan's now 13 for 17 from 3 in the series, which is absolutely insane considering the guy just has not consistently hit threes. So, losing Hero in game 1 sucked. A lot of times we need his offense and we need someone that's able to break down the defense and make tough shots. But the truth is that if you have these guys that are willing to take threes and make them, that's what we need. So it's not that Duncan's better than Hero or that Duncan replaces Hero directly, but having guys that can take these threes, and you don't have to be 13 of 17. You have to hit 38% of your threes, right? That's a very good number. If you're 4 of 10, if you're 8 for 20, that kind of 8 for 21, like if you can shoot that number from 3, like that's what they need. And he's been doing that. I love starting the regular season. Wasn't good. It's been better in the postseason the last couple games. He, it looks more consistent. And we're doing it. We're making it work. Obviously, we'd rather have Hero back. And I kind of would obviously want Depot back after his tough injury in game 3. He looked really good before he went down. But they're gonna make do, and if they can get enough decent performances around Jimmy, they're going to be a tough out. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I don't know where this is going. Again, we talked about they need to win one more, but give props to the guys that are playing well around them. Give Caleb Martin another stat. Sorry, I'm bringing a lot of stats tonight. I saw Barry Jackson said in 4 games, Caleb Martin's like a plus. He's outscoring the Bucks by 75 points when he's on the court. So he's been instrumental. You got Duncan hitting the threes. I didn't think he had a great.
We need to say, because I was waiting for you to go to it. You haven't gotten to it yet. So let me know if this was something you were going to get to. Duncan Robinson was a plus 15 tonight. Spoelstra is doing an incredible job coaching circles around fucking what's-his-face over there. I know his name. I'm purposely not saying it because he's a clown. Spo did it to him in the bubble. Then we don't talk about what else happened. But he's doing it again now against him, Coach Bud. And it's just – hiding Duncan to this level. Duncan was playing fourth quarter minutes, meaningful fourth quarter minutes when they were down and they needed stops. Duncan was there when they were getting stops. He's hiding Duncan really, really, really well here. And it does help, mind you, that they're putting him out on the corner against Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton. If you put Duncan on a white guy on defense, you're probably in pretty good shape. And that's what they're doing. And that is kind of why you were kind of reaping these rewards. Duncan also, he drove to the paint. He got his guy off the dribble and got right to the rim like 2 or 3 times tonight. But the thing is, although like people are going to say, oh, it's the Heat not taking another open layup. No. Duncan's getting past his guy. He sees Giannis or Brook in the paint. He's not going up and getting his shit stuffed. He's correctly going up, faking him out, and then making a good pass out of it. He hit Caleb Martin in the corner. Caleb didn't take the shot because it wasn't a great shot. They continued to reset their offense. And then just because Duncan's getting there, they're respecting his shot is what I'm getting at. And that is so huge when you literally have Jimmy doing everything else. You need that. So now, George, I want to go to you because Harry brought up Caleb specifically. How huge was Caleb's play in that fourth quarter, hitting the corner 3, which was eventually Harry, correct me if I'm wrong, because Caleb, I can't ever remember because he's hit 1,000,000 threes with his toe on the line to get changed to 2s. Was that corner 1 on Giannis? Was that a 3?
It was not a 3, foot on the line.
So.
Caleb has never missed a shot with his foot on the line.
You're right. Every time his
you
foot,
can
he
fact
pulls
check me.
Durant, every time he shoots like 100% when he pulls a Durant with his toe on the line.
He has never missed. Toe on the line, it's going in. It's only worth 2, but it's going in.
Toe on the line, Caleb is probably a greater shooter than Steph Curry or Ray Allen. Mark it, stamp it, send it in. The dude's not going to miss. And then he did the little celebration with the hand in his face against Giannis. It's like, these are the performances from role players that you need, and you get those at home. You don't usually get those as often on the road. That's why that game 1 in Milwaukee was so monumental to shift the momentum of the series and steal home courts, because you got those role players playing incredible. George, back to you now. What did you see from Caleb that you really, really liked in that fourth quarter that kind of ignited the offense, especially the fast break offense?
It's just hitting shots at the end of the day. That's what it is. It's hustle. It's getting your own rebound. It's traveling with the ball once you've let it go from your hands. It's everything. It's basketball 101, but it's put into such a beautiful way where he's doing everything right at the right time. When you've got a player of Tyler Hero's capability and charisma go down like that, you need players to step up. And unfortunately, it's not been Bam Adebayo. He's not been bad by any per se. He's just not been the player we expected. The players that have stepped up in big ways, Caleb Martin, Duncan, Kyle Lowry, these players have stepped up. Kevin Love. Kevin Love in a big way has stepped up. Like, he just looks so much more confident out there. But going back to Caleb Martin, he leads the team of healthy players in offensive rating with 131. That's incredible, and that's more than you could ever ask from someone like Caleb Martin. And it's not a knock on Caleb. It's just, bless me, sorry. It's not a knock on Caleb Martin. We all know he's a phenomenally talented basketball player, or else he wouldn't be on this. Wouldn't be scouted so hard by the Heat and picked up. But to do what he's doing now, it's more than we ever expected, more than we ever hoped for a player like that. And the more he's out there, it's the more he pushes the pace, the more he looks like he's ready to put his body on the line. And he was the big guy next to Jimmy in that fourth quarter. By the way, Jimmy is the first player in Heat history to have 2 20-point quarters in the same game. The first player. He had 22 in the first and 20 in the fourth. But when it looked like we needed a big bucket and needed stops, Caleb Martin was there as well. Big time. He tracked down that rebound that got Jimmy that first three. He splashed. I don't know. You say the foot was on the line. I'd like to go back to the tape on that. But like, he's never been that confident of a shooter. He's always had that hitch in his shot that kind of makes me hesitant whenever he shoots. But he was holding the ball, looking for an outlet, decided to launch it, made it. He just looks like that type of guy where, like, if he's there, if he's got a chance to do something special, he'll try and take it. He looks like he's a big moment player, just like Jimmy, but nothing close to the talent wise. Just look at the at his tendencies and what he's trying to do in those big moments.
And the last guy I wanted to give a little bit of credit to. I don't want to give him too much credit because I've trashed him so much that I feel weird coming back around. But I just thought I thought Gabe was really not good tonight, and Kyle stepped in and was much better defensively. And so I think that's when you're talking about Spo kind of making the right substitutions. I think whether he had the game plan coming in or realized it, like, Kyle was just better out there tonight. It wasn't necessarily, he had some stupid turnovers early on, but he was better down the stretch. He had some decent steals. Just seems to be running things a little bit better for them in crunch time, and I just think he deserves some kudos as well. As we said, there weren't a bunch of guys scoring around Jimmy, but you need those little performances to pull off a comeback like this, and they got enough. So Jimmy provided almost everything we needed, but you had Caleb chipping in, you had Kyle, you had Kevin Love, you had Duncan shooting some threes, and that's a huge win for them. I really hope they can get one more and close this one out.
Likewise, I think you brought up Kyle Lowry because I really wanted to talk about him too. People always say, like, oh, you're not watching the game, you're just box score watching. But it's like, no. With Kyle Lowry tonight, with 6 points, those 6 points and 5 assists were some of the most influential 6 points and 5 assists stat line you'll see from Kyle Lowry. That dude was out there giving them inspired minutes because they really needed it. Because for whatever reason, Gabe hit his head early and his brain matter was just like floating around in his skull because that dude was playing some stupid basketball. He hit a couple good shots, yes, but the dude was just playing dumb. He led the team with 5 turnovers. Like, he wasn't all there. I thought the game seemed a little too fast for him at times. Kyle, granted, I know count on your hand how many times I've said really nice things about Kyle Lowry. This is one of them. The dude knows how to play playoff basketball in meaningful minutes. The guy's been there. Like every season of his career, basically, he's there playing meaningful playoff minutes. He knows how to execute. And a couple of those turnovers that you were talking about also, Harry, most of them were also miscommunications with shooters, like how he was trying to get them set up and give them a shot that, had they been there, it would be an open look. Yet, like someone like Duncan, I know on one of them in the fourth quarter, it was really irritating to me because had Duncan been there, that's a wide open three for them. Duncan ran to the corner instead of fleeing up to the top of the key where he would have gotten a wide open three. But enough about that. I really, really, really liked what Kyle brought to the game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Him and Caleb Martin were pests. And you need that after Oladipo goes down. You lose Oladipo last game. You know these guys are playing inspired ball to get this win for him. And I think they did just that because you lose Oladipo's pessiness in the passing lanes. You never know what you were going to get with Depot on the offensive side of the ball. You knew you were always going to get him sneaking in the passing lanes. Kyle and Caleb did that S tier tonight. They've done it S tier the entire series. So I think that they've really, really done a phenomenal job here, just going in and giving them much needed minutes that they needed, because without them, this fourth quarter comeback doesn't happen. And we have with some absolutely legendary guests coming on here. Ant has made one appearance when I think his toilet got clogged or something. He's back now and coming back on. You think I don't remember? Exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So we have Ant here, optimistic Ant. No better time to be optimistic when you're up 3-1 as an 8 seed against a 1. Ant, how you doing?
Listen, I tried. If only somebody would have told y'all that this was coming. Oh wait, I did. No, I'm just kidding. Who could have ever seen this coming? Also, I did not plan to make an appearance on the pod. We simply just now finished our after post game conversation, and I'm like, what is live right now? The title of this is Take Two Himmy Butler, which is a beautiful name because that's exactly what Jimmy Butler was tonight. I posted a video on Twitter of me and my reaction to the final game. It was basically me just standing in front of the TV, nodding my head in disbelief. I'm really curious how many other people had that same reaction tonight, because it really felt like an out-of-body experience. Like, we know how good Jimmy Butler is, but he still never finds a way to, shock me in what he's capable of. And there's so many players that are great, that people consider superstars, right? There's not a lot of players that can step up their game when the game matters most like Jimmy Butler does. There's so many James Hardens out there. There's so many Paul Georges out there who I fought for years with people telling them that Jimmy Butler is better than those guys. And they'll go through all the numbers and, look at Harden, 60-point dribble levels, this and that. But when the game matters most, you can count on one hand how many people can do what Jimmy Butler did. And that's exactly what we saw tonight. And that, to me, is the sign of a superstar. When the games matter most, they're not hitting the side of the backboard like Paul George. They're not shooting 3-17 like Harden. They're doing what he did tonight and putting the game on his back. Now, I'm not going to cap. When they were down 15, I did shut the game off for a small period of time. And it's because I was so frustrated at Bam Adebayo, seeing him waste this performance by Jimmy, waste Jimmy's career in Miami. It was so frustrating to me. I had to shut it off. Now, I was keeping track of the score, fortunately, so I was able to turn it back on to see the madness that occurred in the fourth quarter. But it's very frustrating. I'm sure y'all have gotten into that. It sucks because this team can't go anywhere without him. But I don't really want to focus on that. I just want to focus real quick on the greatness that is Jimmy Butler, because it cannot be said enough.
Oh, we touched on it. I was having a similar experience. I was at work and I had the game on, and I couldn't focus on anything else because I wasn't shaking my head like you. My jaw was just on the floor. I was like, what am I watching? When Kyle got the steal at midcourt that gave the Heat the first lead of the game, with Jimmy doing just an absolute rack attack, just rocking the shit out of the rim. I was right then and there. I was like, I know that they're going to win. When Jimmy took the lead there, and then he went off and hit, obviously, those 2 threes. But, Ant, thank you so much for hopping on, just for a quick little pop in. We appreciate you. So now let's get back. Before we close here, I want to ask you guys, Harry has touched on it a little bit as well, meaning 3-1's great, right? These performances by Jimmy are incredible, but they don't mean much if you end up pulling a Doc Rivers. And that is my greatest nightmare. Hopefully my dreams don't become a reality. What do you guys think are happening here? George, we'll start with you. How do you see this next game going?
I mean, in all realness, in all seriousness as well, you expect the Bucks to defend home court with all intent, with everything left on the court. You're gonna see an extremely determined and motivated team to win. And I expect nothing less. I don't think anyone's going to sit there and go, well, I said it before, they look defeated. Absolutely. Like, who wouldn't after this game? You were up big in the fourth, and you just watched probably one of the most incredible takeover performances of all time. You're going to be shell-shocked. It is what it is. But, but the Bucks aren't going to go down without a fight. And we don't want them to. I don't expect them to. And it's going to be a hard-fought, tooth and nail. They're going to go back to that Brook Lopez pick and roll that they've been running. That's unstoppable because we just do not have anyone over 7 foot that can actually play. And yes, I'm saying yet 7 can't play. Obviously, he's not healthy enough to resume his role. But it's going to be the pick and roll. You're going to see. I don't really expect to see another poor shooting night from Drew Holiday of that caliber. He just couldn't shoot for anything. Neither could Chris Middleton. So I expect him to absolutely go off. But this is the type of game that you want. You want to have a hard fought last game that Jimmy then goes and shines again. And I hope that Bam Adebayo comes out with that sort of intent as well, offensively, to give him the hand to just to not have another 56 or more night from Jimmy Butler. We don't need that. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be expecting that all the time. And it makes me, it frustrates me. It frustrates me so hard because I sit here and I go talk about Bam Adebayo saying that he needs to do this, he needs to do that. He had a good game tonight. And I'm saying that in all seriousness. Offensively, not there tonight. He took 16 shots. Happy about that. Just couldn't get them to fall. He does get in his head a lot. But down that stretch, when Giannis was ramping up, driving to the rim, you saw some phenomenal defense from Bam. And we take that for granted because we saw 56 points from Jimmy. But if we want to win this game, we want to win it convincingly, you need Bam to come out and have one of those games.
I agree. I think if they're going to win in 5 in Milwaukee, it's going to take a miraculous Bam game, a good bounce back for him. And he's riding that momentum train, so to speak, on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe he continues to go with Brook Lopez. But to your Brook Lopez point, they can't stop it. But I would like to see, in the event that Milwaukee continues to blitz it and continue to go back to that well because they've been able to get nothing but water from it, I would like to see a little more minutes for Cody Zeller. I thought – granted, this whole night has been a blur because of what Jimmy was able to provide for us, because it was just an insane blast of euphoria, just insane amount of just energy. I don't remember how many times Zeller was really out there with Brook, but I didn't remember seeing Brook make a whole lot when Zeller was out there. So granted, even if it is true, small sample size, I'd like to see that go a little bit more because Zeller's their biggest body. So if you need something to throw out there, if Bam gets into foul trouble again like he did tonight, which granted, that foul on Grayson Allen was bullshit. That's not a foul on Bam. Neither here nor there. I would like to see a little more Cody minutes because I think that could kind of alleviate a little bit if Brook tries to give you 36 again. I don't see Brook giving you 36 again. If he does, we need to have some conversations. Harry, what's your take on all this? How do you think this series comes to a close? Do you think it happens in Game 5 in Milwaukee?
No, I don't think it's going to end in Game 5. I think Brook Lopez is part of, I think letting him score like they are is part of the game plan, to be honest. Like, Brook Lopez led the Bucks in shots tonight with 23. I think the Heat are fine with that. Obviously, I don't think they expect him to have 36 points that often, but if he's their leading scorer, that means Giannis isn't shooting as much or getting to the line. That means Middleton's probably having an off game, like he did tonight. And I think they're fine with that. I think that's part of. I know they were asking about it, like why is Strus on him. I think that's part of the game plan. You can let Brook Lopez, kind of have a bunch of points on you, and it's not going to be the deciding factor in the game. The problem with this game going into Game 5 is I think the Heat kind of need to shoot similar to the way they did in Game 1. Obviously, that's the best they've ever shot in the postseason, so not expecting 60% from 3, but you got to hit a 45, 50% of your threes to win a game in Milwaukee, and you probably have to take a lot of them. And I just, I don't know. I think Milwaukee's going to be against the wall. They'll be favored in that game. People will expect them to win, and I think you'll probably have a bounce-back performance. What you're kind of hoping is that the Heat game enough momentum where they can come back in 6. Hopefully you can get another great Jimmy game, and you need like 3 guys to really chip in. So tonight you got Bam in the second half, you got Caleb, and you got Duncan shooting. Like, they just need 3 guys to step up every game and give them 10-plus points, give them the consistency, give them a big rebound, give them a big steal, a big pass, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that the Heat can close this out in 6. It would be amazing if they can win in 5. They always joke Heat in 5. That'd be incredible if you can win 2 games in Milwaukee and close this one out. But you're probably looking at I'm hoping it's a 6-game series, because if it goes any longer, I'm not going to feel as comfortable, calling for a Heat victory.
I would agree with you in the sense that it has to be, if you're going to go into Milwaukee and end this thing in 5, it's not going to be easy. I think that's it's stupid. Why say that? I'm saying it's not going to be easy, but I mean it in the sense of you're not going to walk in there and nurse a lead the entire game, whether it be single digits, double digits, only one possession. I think it's very, very simple that it's going to have to come down to them executing, them hitting their shots, specifically 3-pointers, like you said. They're going to have to do that to stay within a game and then come up in the fourth quarter, snatch the lead, and then play defense. Like, that's what it's going to have to be. It's not going to be easy. They're going to have to really, really be close on it. What was that?
Yeah, I think it's good to have the insurance of a 3-1 lead in a series like this, and hopefully you can, get one of these and move on to the next series.
Speaking of insurance, Harry, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, my man. That's really, really sweet of you to do. Primary sponsor of the basement is Simple Health Advisors. It's insurance. Insurance doesn't need to be complicated. You got to email them or give them a call today and tell them that the basement sent you. You can email JPU at jpu@simplehealthadvisors.com. You can give them a call at 321-345-7738. As we close now, I just want to I'll give my shot here. I think I'm in the same boat as Harry, that you probably don't steal another one in Milwaukee. You probably have to go back to Miami and win it in 6, because after that, the pressure really starts to mount. And Jimmy can only do so much. We saw him do it tonight. Does he have another legendary performance in him against this team? Who knows? Does he need to have one? I would hope not. I would hope the other guys show up and actually start giving him some help, even though they are a little bit injury depleted when it comes to the scoring department. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to a little late night episode here of the Random Scrub Heat podcast. Take care, and remember to be good people. Heat in 5.
Need a stop and a rebound. Fournier for 3.
That was the Random Scrub Heat podcast.